It's someone who's done it is not as interesting as it sounds.
Yeah, no, honestly, it sounds a bit
Yeah.
to me like all they do is just like agree with each other. It's so boring. Who's gonna stand?
There's no proper
Who's gonna
debate.
stand? Who's gonna stand up and go? You know what? I don't care what anyone says. George Floyd deserved it.
I
Who's
get
gonna
to use
do
my
that?
parliamentary privilege to say, kick out all the fucking Pakistanis! Kick out all the Indians!
Who is the guy that's going to stand up and go, you know what, yeah, votes for 16 is a, and leads to just a bit retarded. How dare you?
There are a few exceptions, but most
Usually.
people in the youth parliament are left-wing politicians.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
they're all
that
left.
makes so much
Really,
sense.
David?
Like, bro,
So realistically, they're not going to stand up and debate immigration because 90% of them all agree on their stance on immigration. So
Mr. Speaker, in my free periods at school, right, the computer upstairs is absolutely littered with Nigerians who are really loud and obnoxious. Can we get rid of them, please?
Exactly.
Genuinely, like, I'm just trying to do some work and I hear... I'm from Nigeria. I eat fucking, like, pee on a plate. I'd say that.
Another guy with that in their name.
And then in the lunch line, oh my god, they like push, like, they're not in Africa anymore. We have enough food for them. They don't need to push them on the fucking line.
when the youth parliaments talk about reproductive rights and someone says, courage to term! And who said that? No, get out. Oh, God.
Wild.
If Roblox politicians were in youth parliament, bro, that'd be such like a.
Oh yeah.
It'd be so bad. It'd be awful.
No, genuinely, I remember in school when we had like the votes, and you'd watch like a fucking video, and everybody like, "Well, I think climate change is really bad. Racism and climate change."
I actually support the great oil and gas industries making our lives easier. You know, bills will go down if we just drill more. Someone said that in parliament.
Climate change might be the one that actually provokes debate in a youth parliament because some of them there actually support an economy.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Boo! Boo!
No, I'm sorry. Oh my god, have you seen the like Telegraph thing about a 3p road tax per mile for electric cars?
That's so stupid. Well, it makes no sense for a government that wants to phase out. Like.
No, it's because Albert, they're gonna lose like a ton of money off fuel duties. So they're gonna make it up some way.
Yeah, I know, but like that's so stupid though. Still, like
well,
we should be paid.
Albert, what the problem is we live in like a really short term. Like our budgets at the minute are like just for the next year. We never think after for 2 fiscal years. It's always the next year how we survive in this tax. It's never like how can we make the country better for the next 20 years forward.
And then we
start the session
on youth parliament money.
You've just identified the biggest.
Oh, it's just like 801.
Order! Close house to order. You can finish this bit, David. I want to hear your point.
I was just going to. Oh, stand up. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You've just identified the biggest flaw in the British system is that we have too many people and not enough money, so everyone's unhappy, and no one's ever going to be happy, and that's the short of it.
Yeah, well, to put them all, I didn't say that. I'm the speaker and I'm impartial. I didn't say anything in this debate. Anyway, order paper. Oral questions. Defence Secretary, is he here? Here he is.
Yeah.
He's by himself.
His minister.
There you go. Leader of the People's Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As usual, it's wonderful to see our wonderful His Majesty's most loyal opposition coming out in force to scrutinise this government, especially on something so important as defence. I truly applaud them and their new leadership for not being here. It gives me much more chances of success in the polls. Mr. Speaker, as we all know, Remembrance Day is coming up, a very important thing, a very important date in the calendar in Britain and the Commonwealth and all the other nations who fought against Imperial Germany in the First World War and Nazi Germany in the Second World War and all the other wars after that. A major key factor within any British Armed Forces when it comes to remembrance is a Remembrance Day parade. And I'm sure the Minister will agree with me that conducting that Remembrance Parade is very important. not only does it allow for an aspect of activity, it also allows us to pay our respects to those who have come before us, even if it is on Lego game. So my question is very simple to the Minister. What is this government doing when it comes to Remembrance Day, and do they have any events on the calendar within the armed forces for a Remembrance Day parade or even a Remembrance Day service?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am going to consult with the Chief of Defence Staff in regards to getting that set up. I have a game in terms of a remembrance service, so I will ensure that gets set up and we have something ready. Most likely it'll be a yes, but obviously we have this setup period, so obviously we need to take our time, make sure everything's set up in terms of personnel, set up, all that fun stuff. Yep. Make sure those who died in Lego Afghanistan get their remembrance.
Who's member of Parliament for Highlands North?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a very quick question
Point
to
of
the
order.
Defence Secretary. What? I'm not even done.
It's not about you, so it can wait. Don't worry.
Okay, hold on. I've got many people. Fuck off. Sorry, I do apologise for the language. Can the Defence Secretary explain why the development of the BAF seems to have come to a standstill in terms of actual development from the dev team? Do you have any say in that? And our armed forces are once again left in a state of uncertainty, with with little visible progress or communication. What assurances can the Secretary give to this House that the government will take decisive action to remedy this stagnation? Furthermore, what can we expect to see in the coming days and weeks, given the continued silence from both the Ministry of Defence and the Royal Movement and operational updates? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh wait, okay. So Limpstone is coming out. We are finally getting Royal Navy and Marines maps out. This should hopefully be by next week because apparently development is done. If it's not, I might have gone down the back of the curtain. Give me a minute.
What?
Something's fallen down the back of the curtain.
That's working, right?
Yep.
Yes.
My mic went down the back of the curtain. Like, give me a quick second. Right. Okay. Basically, so what I've said before about Limpstone and development, that should most likely be done by next week. If it's not done by next week, I will literally upload it myself.
Have you finished?
I've now lost my thing, but yeah.
Okay, right. Point of order.
Why are my headphones gone?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a quick one. I do believe it is customary. Well, first of all, for the leader of the opposition, who I don't believe is here and hasn't been for a while, and the leader of the third party to get a set number of questions without interjections from other members.
Yeah, sorry. I just kind of, because we've got no front bench, kind of push things like apart. So
my headphones are like not working.
I can.
I can't hear anything.
I'll give the People's Party leader another 2 questions consecutively, reserved.
Who invented Sony headphones? Should be shot.
I'll hear from. First of all, we'll hear from the actual front bench. Aaron, what's your job?
Hi, the Shadow Home Secretary, maybe? I can't remember.
Home Secretary asking defence questions.
Well, I think, Mr. Speaker, I would like to apologise on behalf of the One Nation Party. I think it's disgusting from my own party, the attendance that's being shown here. I think this is a disgrace to the House, a disgrace to democracy, and a disgrace to you, Mr. Speaker. And my question to the Defence Secretary would be, would he be prepared to bomb the One Nation parties when I'm not there because of this great outrage?
And Secretary.
Give me a minute. I need to
I was thinking about this one.
I'm switching to Discord mobile because basically my headphones aren't working and I can't hear shit at the moment. I withdraw that word.
Do you want me to re-ask the question?
I'm just getting all of this.
Right, is this working now? Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Right. Okay. Let me take these off. So, what? Could you please repeat the question, if that's okay?
Of course. Yes, my question was to the Defence Secretary in light of my outrageous party's attendance and stuff. Would you be prepared to send the armed forces to bomb the One Nation Party headquarters when I'm not there? Thank you.
Oh, very happily. I will happily send 5 Scimitar tanks. I'll send out a whole range of ballistic missiles just to ensure they are coming to Parliament.
Can I amend my statement, actually?
People's Party leader.
It's because very, very concerning. Well, I don't know what's more concerning. The One Nation Party Shadow Home Secretary asking for the government to bomb his party headquarters, or the government actually agreeing to do it. Mr. Speaker, now the Minister of State speaks very highly of development on Livingston. Those who don't know, Livingston being the Royal Marine base everyone uses for Roblox. Could he please inform the House what's going on with development for the actual Royal Naval Surface Fleet and Submarine Fleet and Fleet Air Arm in relation to potentially a map at HMNB Devonport or HMNB Portsmouth or something along the lines of? I'm hearing a lot from the Minister about the Royal Marines. However, could he please tell us about development for the actual Navy and its ships?
Sure, 100%.
Secretary.
So, I'm the secretary now. I've been promoted. Right.
Oh, you're the minister. What?
Yeah, I'm the minister.
Oh,
yeah, I'm the minister.
Minister.
No. Yeah, I'm the minister. I'm the minister. Right.
Yeah,
okay. So, in terms of Royal Navy development, we do have Portsmouth. I have a HMS Albion. I have Type 45. I believe we're having coming out. In terms of aircraft, I have F-35Bs that we're looking at getting out, hopefully in the future, if we do get Fleet Air Arm. And hopefully that answers your question.
Regis People's Party.
Speaker, I'm going to speak on the elephant in the room, or not in the room, rather, and the elephant that has not been in the room for a very, very long time. An elephant who has not been very transparent, and that elephant, in terms of a metaphor, not calling him an actual elephant, that would be very rude, is the Secretary of State for Defence. He's not here for his own questions. He's not been here for a long time. The only session of Parliament I believe he's ever attended was when the Prime Minister probably forcefully dragged him by his earlobes from Whitehall into this chamber. When on earth, well, firstly, what on earth is going on with the minister's boss, the Secretary of State? And I'm hearing rumours that the Secretary of State for Defence may be resigning to get a military position. Could the minister please tell me if the Secretary of State is resigning, and if the Secretary of State does resign, if he is fully ready and able to become the Secretary of State?
So I'm not going to comment. Oh, right. Sorry. I'm not going to comment on resignations at this time because I only know a snippet about what's happening and I'm not completely sure at the moment. All I know is the reshuffle on the 10th. So in terms of the Defence Secretary himself, he's busy at work quite a lot in person. He's like, I believe he's a Tesco security guard. I'm unlike that because I'm a college student, and if I am to take the role of Secretary of State for Defence, I am very ready to be set up and get working.
I watched the guy get kicked off the train who was trying to sell me weed today by the security on the train. Point of order from the Shadow Home Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do believe I would like to seek your advice, as I believe I did mislead the House earlier. I said that my own party, I would like to announce to the House after this sitting, I will be resigning from the One Nation Party. I will need to speak to the Clerks of Parliament on how this works, if I keep my seat as a Member of Parliament or not, if I can transfer to a different party. But yes, I would just like to... thank you, Clerks. Yes, that is, I misled the House, and I apologise sincerely to you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Member of Parliament for Sheffield, Leeds and Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do commend the Shadow Home Secretary for being the only person in his party with a backbone. You know, the rest of them don't even have a sufficient backbone to warrant sitting in a seat, apparently, but nonetheless, I do congratulate him on his departure from whatever on earth is happening in the One Nation Party these days. On the note of whatever...
clue, mate. Not a fucking clue. We saw the word fucking.
I think it's very.
On the note of whatever else happening or not happening, Mr. Speaker, as we've seen, the group who's inevitably seen a decline in interest, as I'm sure is quite evident by the very few of us actually sat here today. I'm more interested, however, if such a decline in interest has extended to the BEF. I understand this might be as a result of, waiting on a game coming out or other such, things that we're waiting on. But has the Defence Secretary seen any such decline in the British Armed Forces, and if so, how do they plan to combat that, especially if they're planning on doing remembrance events?
In terms of BAF activity, obviously it's still early days.
I didn't call you.
Didn't call him the last.
Minister of State for Defence. I did.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I am not very good at understanding social situations, but I'll keep moving on. So, like I've lost my train of thought now. Like I said before,
still new.
Oh yeah. So yeah, BAF is still currently new, under development. We do have quite a lot of people submitting interest. So once we're obviously set up, and I really, really hope it's in a week. I'm going to work for it to be in a week. I'm going to work with the Secretary of State for it to be in a week. We still have concurrent activity within the upper echelons in terms of officers. We have Chief of Defence Staff, all those guys keeping in contact with us. We're ensuring we can keep the best development standards possible for them and getting everything set up. In terms of if activity does decline, my strategy would be in terms of supporting the base activity of the officer corps and the non-commissioned officers to ensure we have base in terms of strategic training and development for new individuals. That sounded a bit complex, but I think it's understandable. Right.
Leeds, Bradford and Sheffield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And whilst I'm sure the Defence Secretary is a very honest and reputable man, a week for Limston. Are we really being honest with the House here? Because knowing the state of development in the past few months across this and the other communities, I think a week's being quite generous, shall we say. But nonetheless, moving on. Mr. Speaker, earlier the Defence Secretary mentioned about the Fleet Air Arm and the fact that he has F-35 Bravos. My question really stems from that. With the Royal Marines in existence and the potential for, I believe it's a Rifles Regiment, but I'm sure you'll correct me on that one, would it not be more beneficial to have a rotary squadron from the Fleet Air Arm delivering, capacity such as the Merlin or the Wildcat to insert the Marines, personnel from the Army into combat situations, than essentially running a mini RAF doing bombing runs that serve no real purpose for troops on the ground?
So obviously, I keep forgetting. So obviously, everything's currently give or take, and I'm still going to be quite theoretical. I am in the belief that we are going to have rifles. In terms of if we do get Fleet Air Arm, the possibility is that we have, like you said, rotary helicopter squadrons first in priority. Then, if we have the people to sustain an aircraft carrier, that's when we start thinking about F-35Bs.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to draw to your attention. Quite a lot of cameras. The press has arrived. I believe this is due to my resignation. Hello.
Thank you
I'd like
for
to
telling
make a
me.
statement to you all.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I have resigned.
Right, order. Sit down.
Point of order.
Point of order.
On a more, practical note, whilst the cameras may in fact be here for the honourable member's resignation, they first of all now pose a fire hazard as we can't leave the chamber effectively. And second
that point of order, that is incorrect.
I am aware of the rear doors. However, in a fire, you want to use the most efficient exit, and I believe it's that way. Currently obstructed by cameras.
If we are going by the fire,
I don't want to hear from the member.
Second of all, it does prohibit members entering the chamber from the spot area.
Could the clerks get rid of them? If you can't, then lol.
At this point, can we take the BBC's camera permissions away from them? Because this is the second time they've abused it.
Okay, right. Well, can't really do anything. BBC is still doing that, being very annoying. Any further questions to the Defence Secretary? Okay, leave the People's Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My last question, and it's going to be a really short one. What does the Minister actually do?
Minister of State.
Oh, yeah. So in terms of what I do for the armed forces, I do a lot of subsidiary development in terms of contributing to the main development team so I can give them any kit they need in terms of other stuff than just uniforms. So, as a minister, in terms of my proper ministerial role, I'm doing currently getting the legislation through, basically just as an undersecretary. So just basically making sure if the Secretary of State's not here, which, as you've said, as I've said before, he works at Tesco a lot. So I'm here to ensure stuff gets through for the armed forces, because that's our utmost priority at the moment.
Nancy Pelosi isn't seeking re-election. Member of Parliament for Sheffield Bridge, Sheffield, East Bradford.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for the love of God, you just use my name. I'm sick of hearing about this constituency that I've never even visited once in my life. I'm sure I speak for, at least my party, if not the rest of the House, when I do thank the Defence Secretary for the efforts he continues to make for the armed forces. He seems to be one of the only people in government that actually wants to do his job, and whilst I understand his job slightly deviates from his actual ministerial title, it is appreciated nonetheless. Mr. Speaker, on the subject of the Rifles Regiment, and I do thank the Defence Secretary again for confirming that, is it really in the interest of the British Armed Forces to open up yet another regiment in the immediate future when we're still trying to set up the Royal Navy and the Royal Marines? At a time where we don't know how active these services are going to be, is it really a valid use of resources and manpower to open up a third unit for these people to join at a time where the group, at my last count, was only around 200 members? I understand that might have increased, so someone can correct me on that as well. But again, is it really worth the resources and the manpower to opening up a third unit when we might not even be able to staff the first two we've already got?
Minister of State.
Any part of the armed forces will only be introduced after the Navy and Marines are set up properly and we have the correct manpower to sustain it. That is always my 100%. And pretty much this government, as well as the Chief of Defence Staff's prerogative, to ensure everything's set up, everything's ready, and everything's ready to go. Boom.
Any further questions? Any further questions? No. Okay. Moving to the tabling all stages of non-current bills. I believe there's a motion from the from David Montgomery.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And whilst I'd love to rant about how the government continues to present legislation for all three readings on the same day, it seems they haven't even bothered to turn up to argue it, so I'm not even going to bother moving the motion at this point.
I mean, you could win it if you put it forward.
There's no point, because it's an early day motion. It's not something that changes anything. It's just, the House takes note of.
All right. Are there any bills? Please no, please no, please no, please
no. No.
Okay, good. Right, adjournment debate on the BBC. I need to quickly go to the toilet. So, David, do you want to take the chair real quick?
I suppose so. Well, the question is that I did take the chair for the Speaker's absence, as many are of that opinion say aye. On the contrary, no, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on, Leader of the People's Party.
Thank you, Mr. Temporary Speaker, Scottish man. Now, I find it a bit odd that the government have decided to put an adjournment debate on the BBC. Firstly, when they have no minister or undersecretary of state for DCMS in the Honourable House, which is an issue in itself, I think the government can agree. And the Prime Minister isn't here. He's usually the one that takes answers for DCMS. But yeah, apparently the Prime Minister and the Leader of the House have just dropped the Minister for the Armed Forces in at the deep end on policy that he probably doesn't know, because he's an Armed Forces Minister and not DCMS. However, we can talk about it anyway. The government's handling of the BBC has been absolutely atrocious.
I'll dare. Sit down. Okay, Speaker has the chair back. Right, carry on, mate.
We have seen mismanagement of the BBC by a Director General and by a chairman, in the government's own words. And now they have put in a new acting chairman who apparently, according to speculation, the BBC board is firmly against. Now, the problem that I see here is that the Prime Minister, a long time ago, back when the Henry Wiggle situation kicked off, said that Henry Wiggle was not appointed in a fair and legal process or something along the lines of. And now we found out that the BBC chair was not appointed the correct way through an order in council. The government only finding this out after they wanted to give the BBC chairman the sack. Now, I find it a bit odd that the government is using these things against certain individuals when they find out that it can be used against them. And when they don't like those individuals, I feel like the moment they found out the BBC director, or the BBC chair rather, was appointed in a not so legal process, they probably should have, given him the sack and done all that along the lines. I know he is here. Prayers be with you. However, yes, when it comes to issues in regards to the BBC has been inactive, untransparent. And just they've not really been all too good at election debates, with continuous technical difficulties by the former Director General, who has not only resigned but also left the community. So this is the part where I would say I hope the government can present us a decent plan on how, firstly, they can bring back the public's trust in the British Broadcasting Corporation, and how they're going to bring back, proper journalism in the BBC. However, again, there's no DCMS ministers here. There's no DCMS ministers in this chamber. The Prime Minister's not here, and he's abandoned the Minister for the Armed Forces to deal with this himself. Now, whilst I'm sure the Minister of State for the Armed Forces is amazing at, armed forces stuff, as is his purview, I'm not too sure he's the best person to respond to this House's concerns regarding DCMS policy. However, he is more than welcome to try, and I will give way to the Minister.
So actually, I am an owner of a media business, so I have a decent understanding of the industry. So I will happily answer any questions I can on behalf of the government and have the relative consultations with the minister, if possible.
It's all well and good that he owns a media company. Apparently, I own one as well, even though I don't remember registering one. But yeah, he doesn't know the Secretary of State for DCMS's plans regarding DCMS, because it's all well and good saying I'm going to consult the relevant people, but if we're having a debate, they should probably be here, including the Prime Minister. I will give way to my honourable friend, the Member of Parliament for Leeds, Bradford and Sheffield.
I do thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does my honourable friend agree that, for someone as Compass Mentis as the Minister for the Armed Forces, surely you should have the answers, because apparently anyone can run the BBC, and that extends to Hollow Gamer, the most incompetent man I've ever met in my career.
Yeah.
I agree. This government needs to be more prepared when it comes to these sessions. Again, we still don't know if it's the Leader of the House or the Prime Minister that makes the majority of these order papers. No one knows anymore. This government is not stable at all. It makes decisions which the public inherently view as wrong, and they're not even here to respond to the scrutinization. Now, it's shocking and saddening to me again that the armed forces minister is left here, because it's all well and good that he's saying I can have these consultations, and that would be great if we weren't having this debate now. And I seriously urge the minister to go to the cabinet and go to the prime minister and try to hold the prime minister accountable, because we all know how much the prime minister doesn't like to be held accountable. There needs to be a relevant DCMS minister or undersecretary of state, God forbid, in this chamber. The chamber that is elected, the chamber that is held to account by the British public. I don't get how this is an issue for the government to select a backbencher who is literate, doesn't need to be an expert, literate in DCMS policy, and put them on the front bench team. The Minister of State for DCMS is in the other place. The Secretary of State for DCMS is in the other place. And there is no Minister or Undersecretary of State here in this chamber we can question for DCMS. And I wouldn't have this rant and rave if the Prime Minister was actually here. But, oh no, he's not here. He is, let me look at my notes, clobbering sissy liberals. What a brilliant government, what a mature government, and what a stable government we have.
God damn it. My collar is blue on my neck. Is there a Shadow Secretary of State for hell? No, home.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it appears during our debate for the BBC, all of their cameras have left. I have since found out it was a combination of BBC and Red Lack News cameras. I do apologise sincerely. Red Lack News is my own organisation. I did tell the boys not to bring the cameras, but you know, what can you do? Boys will be boys. You know, the media, the BBC has been very corrupt. I myself got faced with an inquiry by the BBC that actually didn't happen. How crazy is that? They said they were launching an inquiry into me, Mr. Speaker, and they didn't do it. What else haven't they done? They have failed to provide relevant and quick news to the public, and they have failed to protect the public doing their panorama stuff, and they have just failed in general. They can't keep stable leadership other than Mr. Fred. What a guy. My hero. You know, even on election night, the media coverage of election night was a shambles, Mr. Speaker. And I think we need to abolish the BBC, defund it, and government funding could be moved to Red Lack News. What does the acting, whatever he is, Mr. Just whatever he's doing, answering these questions, what does he say about that? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, okay. Right.
What's your job again, Minister of State for the Armed Forces?
Right, like I said, like these guys were largely clobbering about. I am only the Armed Forces Minister, so I really shouldn't be having a rant about the BBC. But honestly, they're not too bad. To me, they're not too bad. So in terms of the this is where I put all my information. I don't really like
GPT.
Yes, this is where I'm really deeply thinking. Right. The BBC should be abolished because obviously it's a free broadcasting service where everybody just pays a little TV license, and that means we can have like lot TV license man or something.
Are you
right? And then obviously it can be changed, it can be fixed. That's the clear stuff, which I'm getting, and I will have the appropriate consultations to get it fixed, to get it changed. I know quite a lot of you do not like Hologamer. I agree. I also do not like Hologamer.
Get him out! Here.
So we'll work to get that done properly. But obviously, this is my personal opinion, not the opinion of the DCMS secretary, which may be different. So we will have to see, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah.
What more from the People's Party?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just seeking your advice. To me, that sounded like a minister representing the government at the dispatch box just agreed with sacking the acting director general or acting chairman of the BBC, contrary to the Prime Minister's actions and this government's actions. I do sense a creeping breach of cabinet collective responsibility. I seek your advice. That one. I seek your advice on this.
I think that's kind of up to the cabinet minister and the prime minister, not really myself. I mean, if the member wants to potentially break the ministerial code in this house, then he can do so. It's not my job to tell him what to do. David Montgomery.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just further on that one, yes, it's not really the position of the House to enforce collective responsibility. Nonetheless, the Minister, I can't remember his exact words, but I believe he used "not bad" in reference to the BBC. And by God, that's the highest rating I think the BBC's had in quite a while. The public are so fed up of the misconduct, of the mismanagement, of the collapsing infrastructure that is the BBC. If you look through the channel, they've spent more time arguing with their parodical counterpart BBC News with a Z than they have on actual journalism. They've let trademark infringement go unpunished. They've spent more time arguing themselves in their boards about the who's getting chair than they have doing actual work. When we look through the BBC channel, and please forgive me because it might take me a minute to actually get through all of this, but when you look at it, all you see is Parliament, or the occasional tweet from Fred, or the occasional poll on politics, and none of it is actual journalism. Anyone can write a tweet. I could go on just now and say, "Oh, breaking news." Forgive me, I don't know his constituency, but the member at the opposition dispatch box has resigned from his party. A one-line tweet, and apparently that's what qualifies as journalism these days. The BBC is an absolute shambles. And the minister might have confidence in them, but I don't think the rest of the House do. They have appointed the chairman. They're saying they want to fix the issues, and they've appointed the one person who's going to sit there and let the BBC run rampant on doing whatever they want. They come into this chamber and they flood it with cameras.
And
yet I've still seen no real journalism back since Hellion. And I don't know their new name, so I do apologise. But I'm sure people know who I'm talking about. And if you don't, just scroll at the BBC feed to find the last bit of actual journalism, and you'll find out who I'm talking about. Yes, Zaza, and I don't need correction.
Zaza's a dickhead. Yeah, I withdraw that.
I mean, he very well might be, but he was the only person that actually done anything worth anything in a BBC.
Yeah, I would agree. Yes, actually,
I will give way. So we're not, doing this. I will give way.
Zaza, very, very good journalism, and you know what? That kid, he's not a kid. He's a proper man. That guy, he actually was committed to the cause, and that's what you got to respect about him. None of these BBC people now are committed to the cause, Mr. Speaker. And that is what upsets me about the BBC.
I thank the member for his intervention. When we look at the BBC newsfeed, on the 27th of last month, I believe he's actually sat at the clerk's table, Fred posted a tweet. Earlier this evening, the BBC held a bold meeting. Apparently that's news. And apparently what's even further news on that is that they discussed many subjects, from new ideas to reviewing applications. They're starting to sound like the little dragon politician, but journalistic. That is the level the BBC have stooped to. They're not broadcasting anything interesting. They're saying, we have plans. We are hiring people. That was the extent of that, press release, apparently. The next one down from it, statement regarding a recent news post from BCC News Company. They couldn't even spell the bloody company's name right. That's how bad it's getting. And then, the bits that people are actually interested in, right underneath it, is a 2-line statement saying that Little Dragon has resigned as leader of the One Nation Party. Immediately followed by the BBC conducting an opinion poll on confidence in the BBC. Another resignation, another statement about BBC resignations, Parliament streams. I can go down. The only real bits of news in there was, I believe, that the leader of the opposition was elected the leader of his party. That is the level the BBC has stooped to. And the fact that the government can't even produce someone who knows about the workings of the BBC to debate this, it's shocking. The infrastructure is collapsing. They're appointing people to lead it who have no real idea how to lead it.
Yeah.
And yet we're standing here having to debate this time and time again because the government says they're fixing it and they're not actually fixing it. I could easily turn around and say, oh, yes, I'm starting a new company. It's going to be the best company in the world because I've appointed Little Dragon to lead it. Doesn't make it true. So can the government actually outline what plans they actually have to fix the BBC? Or is it just, we're going to put all our faith in Hologame and watch the system collapse?
Sure, the Minister of State for Defence knows a little bit. Knows a lot. It's Minister of State for Defence.
Like I've said before, I'm going to have to say this millions of times. I'm obviously not the DCMS secretary, so I have no clue what's going on. But I'm just going to reflect on my personal views here. Working priorly for the BBC before in the UK back then, I clearly believe that we need to have a very strict work on the top-down structure of the BBC, and I'm going to consult the DCMS secretary in regards to kind of having a different structure so we can actually keep them accountable and keep them relatively in line. Because obviously, yeah, go on.
I mean, I thank the Minister for giving way, first of all. When we look at other news companies, most of them don't have an actual structure. They have, one or two journalists doing something in the name of a quote-unquote company that is really just individual journalism. Does the Minister agree that it's potentially worth taking the BBC down the road of, getting rid of, the fancy titles, getting rid of, or maybe keep the Director General just for the legal side of it, but have the Director General be the journalist, have, the Chief Operating Officer, the Chief Executive Officer be the journalist, cut out, the hierarchical structure and have people who are doing the journalism lead the BBC.
Yeah.
That was a giveaway.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, so obviously to my personal standpoint, I am kind of in agreement of it, but it needs to be streamlined, and not to be obviously changed into something that is like a news company where it's complete independent journalism, because obviously we want the BBC to be a wide range of journalism, which hopefully grows into something massive, which we love about the BBC. So yeah, I kind of quasi agree with that, and that's what I kind of finished off with. What else in terms of the government? Obviously, in terms of the journalism, that will be kept in check. I don't know if we have Ofcom yet, and I'm probably going to have somebody yelling in my ear telling me we don't have Ofcom, but I'm going to ensure with communication with the DCMS secretary that we do get Ofcom at some point to ensure we have quality journalism.
Shadow Home Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to discuss the state of our public broadcasting. And quite frankly, it's starting to feel like the lights are on, but nobody's home. The broadcaster we rely on has gone so quiet that I expect to see tumbleweeds rolling across our newsroom. The inactivity has become impossible to ignore. When the public turn on the national broadcaster, they shouldn't be met with silence. They should be met with information, discussion, and energy. Instead, we now have a broadcaster that seems to be doing more sleeping than reporting. Mr. Speaker, this isn't a student holiday. It's a national institution. The people deserve a media service that actually serves them, not one that checks in once a month to remind us it still exists. And that's why I commend my own company, Red Lack News, a truly independent.
No, hang on. No, you're not promoting your own news company.
I withdraw my commendation of Red Lack News. That's okay. This is why I propose that Redlac News takes the government contract for the media outlet. Fuck's sake, ChatGPT hasn't written this bit. Redlac News has shown that good journalism is alive and well. It's transparent, it's hardworking, and most importantly, it's awake. No, I'm not giving away, sorry, mate. It's awake. If the old broadcaster wants to sit in the corner collecting dust, then that's their choice. But the country, the country is moving forward, and Redlac News is leading the way. So yes, Mr. Speaker, perhaps it's time to stop waiting for the BBC to wake up and instead support those people who are already wide awake, working and delivering for the people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a clear conflict of interest for the member on the opposition front bench to be promoting his own news company, advocating it for government contracts, so on and so forth, knowing he runs that news company and doing so in this house. It's a blatant breach of, conflict of interest principles, and I seek your advice on that matter.
Yeah, don't do it again, or I'll have my clerks come at you.
Receive.
The clerks. Got your job.
Some guy. Just say some guy, because apparently I can't be from Jaywick anymore. Right. No, I'm not giving you a contract. No, we're not gonna promote whatever bullshit I was sure about news company you're bringing up. Benson up there, he's just recording. Let him chill. I do say we do need some more active journalism, and that can be promoted over time. And I want to work towards that, and I'll have consultations with the right individuals and ensure we have the BBC as big as possible. So no, I am not giving you your special needs news company any sort of attention.
Point of order, right. Point of order, point of order, point of order.
Point of order from you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask your advice on my company getting called special needs. I do, in fact, have autism, ADHD, and Down syndrome.
Well, the member was correct. Sit down.
Mr. Speaker, how dare you?
Excuse me. Sit.
I only speak factually correct information.
Okay. Right. Any more points of debate?
Yes.
David Montgomery.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was going to motion, but the boy stood up and I couldn't sit down quick enough, so I'm just going to sit down now.
Secretary of State, Shadow Secretary of State for the Home Affairs, Home Office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following my earlier remarks regarding the state of public broadcasting in this country, I can confirm that I have consulted Calder Consultancy to conduct an independent review of the situation. After my last speech, it became clear that the issues raised were not just opinions, but symptoms of a deeper problem within the broadcasters' structure and manager. Calder Consultancy was brought in to provide a clear, objective assessment of the broadcasters' performance, activity levels, and overall effectiveness. Their findings were, quite frankly, concerning. The report identified a lack of direction, low activity, and an absence of strategic oversight, precisely the issues we have been warning about for some time, absolute decades, Mr. Speaker. It is evident that reform is not the only desirable, but the absolutely necessary if we are to restore public confidence. Calder Consultancy's recommendations provide us with a roadmap to do just that. They call for a stronger oversight, Redlac News to be brought in, and a fresh focus on public engagement. I would like to thank Calder Consultancy for their professionalism and insight, their contribution that ensures our proposals for the reform of the public broadcaster are backed by evidence, not rhetorics. That, Mr. Speaker, is how we will deliver real change for the people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Point of order.
I believe the member at the opposition dispatch box has just inadvertently misled the House. I don't believe such a company exists, and it certainly hasn't done it.
Point of order.
BBC.
Or are you going to correct, you could just speak.
2 seconds.
Never mind then. Right, we're gonna Jen.
Must be a phone call from that very important consultancy company.
Well,
we're gonna Jen, please.
Yeah, please.
I beg to move for house to new John.
Question is, this has not Jen on it, so.
Aye.
No.
What do you mean? No? What? What? This has now Jen on the road. I can't.
Oh no! You put the question now.
The eyes have it. I heard the eyes. The eyes were louder. But anyway, so the budget, it is a joke. Actual joke. Piss take. Anyway, goodbye.
Good night.
I think those were some good questions.